morning, good afternoon, good evening again to all of you. I'm so very excited to be a part of this research symposium. I have, throughout my career, focused on CAD as a research topic. In fact, I started my career in 1980 at the Naval Weapons Center in China Lake, California. And I was working on a brand new technology called CAD. And back in those days, it was a brand new technology. That technology had just come out from MIT, where Ivan Sutherland, if you remember, his doctoral dissertation was Sketchpad, a man-machine interface. And he and David Evans formed a company called the Evans and Sutherland Company, where they created computers to do CAD. And at that time, I remember sitting in dark rooms because the monitors we had were raster monitors, and there was a little button on them, and every so often you had to hit the button to refresh the screen. The disk drives were the size of dishwashers. You know, you'd hear them kind of chattering away as they were saving data. That was a really fun and exciting time, and CAD was a cool new technology. At that time, we could really only represent geometry by the edges and curves of the geometry. We refer to it now as tinker toy geometry, but that was pretty exciting to have 3 dimensions and to be able to rotate and do those kinds of things. Shortly thereafter, in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of research that went on, a lot of it funded by National Science Foundation. I actually did my doctoral work at the Purdue CAD lab under the direction of David Anderson. That lab was funded by a large grant from the National Science Foundation, along with the sister lab at MIT that was headed by David Gossard. And it was all focused on CAD and CAD research. And the real big topics at that time were solid modeling. How do you actually represent geometry completely as volumes? And there were really kind of 2 different schools of thought: constructive solid geometry with Boolean operations and boundary representation. And so the key researchers were Aristide Rakichas and Herb Volker, kind of focused on CSG and Boolean operations, and then Ian Braid focusing on boundary representations. It was a really exciting time period. And right in the middle of that time period, lo and behold, Dr. Samuel Geisberg created a company called Parametric Technology Corporation, of course, later to become PTC, and offered the first commercial solid modeler called ProEngineer. And that's our heritage here at PTC. We were very excited to bring to the world that first commercial solid modeler. But not long after that, that first solid modeling package, ProEngineer, required very expensive and large workstations. So only kind of the large companies that could afford it could really have access to CAD. And then along came a revolution where CAD was then ported to PCs, and all of a sudden, a lot more of the commercial space had access to CAD. Also, during this period of time, we started to see research in CAD change and focus really on efficiency, accuracy, and simplicity. Some of the people, I was doing a lot of research at that time and worked with several of these people. You had Pierre Bezier, who introduced the Bezier curves and surfaces. You had Tom Cederberg, Tamas Varady, and Jarek Rozenyak. These were people that I worked with who were doing really exciting research in the area of computational geometry and numerical methods to really make CAD more efficient and more accurate. But now here we are. It's time for another revolution in CAD, and that's cloud native CAD. And cloud native CAD really takes CAD to that next step of democratization, where now all of a sudden everybody has access to CAD. And we certainly see this in the education area, where now students from all different socioeconomic backgrounds have access to CAD in ways they never could before. We have school teachers who tell us that their students are doing their CAD homework on the school bus, on their mobile phones. What a change. I've been excited about this because the research and research funding for CAD has kind of dwindled over the years because it was considered to be a mature technology. And now all of a sudden, with this cloud native capability, we're seeing a resurgence in research in the CAD area. And of course, the cloud native technology gives us several different things. One of the things that's really exciting to me is the fact that it brings connectivity with it. And that connectivity is so essential for Industry 4.0. And so now all of a sudden, it's not just that CAD is part of Industry 4.0, but it enables Industry 4.0. That's a real exciting thing. Also, now all of a sudden, we can connect into artificial intelligence algorithms. We can do AR, digital twins, those kinds of things.